The U.S. China rivalry, a war where everyone loses. Today we are living through one of the most dangerous confrontations of modern times. A confrontation not fought with guns, but with supply chains, algorithms, sanctions, and ideology. A confrontation so vast its shockwaves are felt across every corner of the globe. This is the U.S. China rivalry. And make no mistake, it's a war where everyone loses. How did we get here? Why is the world splitting apart? And most importantly, what does it mean for your future? Let's dive deep into one of the defining dramas of the 21st century. First, the rise of two giants. After World War II, the United States emerged as a superpower unlike anything the world had ever seen. Its economy accounted for nearly half of the world's GDP. Its military, unmatched. Its influence, global. Meanwhile, China lay in ruins. Decades of civil war, foreign invasions, famine, and poverty had left it one of the world's poorest nations. But history never stands still. In 1949, the People's Republic of China was founded under the leadership of Mao Zedong. It was a closed agrarian society, isolated from much of the global economy. But after Mao's death, everything changed. In 1978, Deng Xiaoping unleashed a revolution not with guns, but with economic reforms. To get rich is glorious, he declared, and China listened. Special economic zones were created, foreign investment was welcomed, manufacturing exploded. In the blink of a historical eye, China lifted over 800 million people out of poverty, the largest poverty alleviation in human history. By the early 2000s, China had become the world's factory. It made your clothes, your electronics, even your toys. The US, addicted to cheap goods, couldn't get enough. It seemed like globalization had stitched the two together. America supplied the innovation and brands. China supplied the labor and production. But hidden beneath this partnership was a ticking time bomb. What happens when the apprentice grows powerful enough to rival the master? Second, seeds of conflict. As China's economy grew, so did its ambitions. It was no longer satisfied with being the world's workshop. It wanted to move up the value chain, to lead in AI, semiconductors, renewable energy, quantum computing. Meanwhile, in America, jobs vanished, industrial towns hollowed out, income inequality soared, and resentment brewed. American politicians began blaming China for the middle class's decline. Manufacturing jobs were outsourced, trade deficits ballooned, intellectual property theft became a flashpoint. In China, nationalism grew stronger. Many Chinese believed, with some justification, that the West wanted to keep them permanently subordinate. Memories of the century of humiliation when Western powers carved up China never truly faded. Thus, distrust deepened, a new Cold War was taking shape, slow, subtle, but inevitable. Third, the trade war and beyond. In 2018, the trade war officially began. The United States slapped tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars of Chinese goods. China retaliated. The logic was simple. Punish China for its unfair trade practices, force it to open up its markets, and curb its ambitions. But the results were far messier. Prices rose for American consumers. Farmers struggled to sell their crops overseas. Manufacturers faced uncertainty. Chinese firms accelerated their push for self-reliance. The world economy, already fragile, shuddered. And then came the tech war. Fourth, tech decoupling, the new arms race. Technology is the new oil, and whoever controls it controls the future. The US banned Chinese tech giants like Huawei from accessing American semiconductors. Chinese apps like TikTok faced restrictions. Semiconductor firms like TSMC were pressured to stop supplying Chinese companies. In response, China launched massive subsidies for its tech sector. It invested heavily in 5G, AI, renewable energy, and quantum computing. The result is a race for technological supremacy that threatens to split the world into two incompatible systems. Imagine a future where your phone, your internet, your car, even your bank account work differently depending on whether you live in a US-aligned or China-aligned country. The tech Cold War is real and is just getting started. Fifth, military tensions, a powder keg. While trade wars and tech wars rage on, military tensions simmer dangerously close to the surface. The South China Sea, a vital artery for global trade, has become a militarized zone. China has built artificial islands equipped with military bases. The U.S. Navy regularly conducts freedom of navigation operations. Taiwan, meanwhile, sits like a spark in a dry forest. China considers Taiwan a breakaway province. The U.S. supports Taiwan's democracy and sells it weapons. In recent years, Chinese fighter jets have buzzed Taiwanese airspace. American warships have sailed through the Taiwan Strait. One miscommunication, one accident, and a regional conflict could explode into a global catastrophe. In the 21st century, wars may not be declared, they may just happen. Sixth, ideological clash. Democracy versus authoritarian capitalism. At its heart, the U.S. China rivalry is not just about money or power, it's about two fundamentally different visions for the future. America champions liberal democracy, free speech, free elections, free markets. China champions what some call authoritarian capitalism, rapid economic growth under strict political control. Each sees the other not just as a competitor, but as a threat to their way of life. In China, censorship is widespread, dissent is crushed, social media is tightly controlled. In the US, free speech flourishes, but so does disinformation, polarization, and political gridlock. Both systems have strengths, both have weaknesses. Neither is perfect, but the ideological battle between them shapes everything from trade policies to university research to entertainment content. In a divided world, even truth becomes a battleground. Seventh, the global fallout. When two giants clash, everyone else suffers, supply chains fracture, global GDP growth slows, inflation rises, investments dry up. Countries like Vietnam, India, Mexico, and Indonesia are scrambling to pick up the pieces, trying to attract companies fleeing U.S. China tensions. Alliances are tested. The European Union hesitates between Washington and Beijing. African nations weigh Chinese infrastructure deals against American diplomatic ties. Latin America becomes a new arena for influence. Meanwhile, existential threats like climate change, pandemics, and nuclear proliferation go unaddressed. The US and China both talk about cooperation on global challenges, but in reality, distrust poisons every conversation. At a time when humanity should unite, we are fracturing. Eighth, why everyone loses. No one wins a Cold War. The first US-China Cold War has already cost trillions in lost trade, shattered investments, and missed opportunities, but the deeper losses are harder to measure. Lost trust between nations, lost innovations delayed by fractured research networks, lost decades in fighting climate change, and perhaps most tragically, lost hope among a generation of young people, American, Chinese, and everywhere else, who deserve a future defined by cooperation, not confrontation. Make no mistake, if this rivalry spirals into open conflict, the consequences would be catastrophic. A war over Taiwan could kill millions, collapse global trade, and usher in a dark new era of economic depression and political instability. This is a war where everyone loses. Ninth, a different path. But it doesn't have to end this way. Competition is natural. Rivalry can drive innovation, inspire greatness, sharpen minds, but it must be managed. History offers lessons. The US and Soviet Union avoided direct war despite decades of hostility. Treaties on nuclear arms control, crisis communication hotlines, summit diplomacy all helped prevent disaster. Today, we need the same imagination and courage. Trade wars can be de-escalated. Tech competition can include standards for cooperation on global issues. Military dialogues can reduce risks of accidents and miscalculations. It requires leadership from Washington, from Beijing, and from every other capital around the world. It requires admitting a hard truth. Neither America nor China can solve the 21st century's problems alone. Climate change doesn't care about national borders. Pandemics don't check passports. Artificial intelligence will reshape humanity whether we are ready or not. Coexistence is not weakness, it is survival. Finally, conclusion. The US-China rivalry will define this century. That much is inevitable, but how it defines it, that is still up to us. We can choose escalation, paranoia, and division, or we can choose competition guided by wisdom, restraint, and mutual respect. The first path leads to ruin. The second offers a slim, fragile, but real hope for a better future. History doesn't just happen. It's made by the choices of leaders and by the will of ordinary people like you. Choose carefully, because in the war between giants, it is the earth itself that trembles. If this episode resonated with you, if you care about where our world is heading, leave a comment below. What are your thoughts on the U.S. China rivalry? Is competition inevitable, or is coexistence still possible? And if you want more deep dives like this, exploring the truth behind the headlines, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Together, let's stay informed, stay curious, and shape a better future.